hello everyone. Here I am in my favorite little reading nook, my daughter's reading nook, and I am just enjoying speaking with you from this little space, sharing with you for Black History Month 2024 on the theme Black Creative Expressions. If you have joined us before, then you do know that I am coupling my love of African clothing with my love of books and just sharing with you on some of the wonderful messages that we can often gather from these works that are largely produced in the African diaspora with particular emphasis on the Caribbean. So today we are looking at The Lonely Londoners by Samuel Selvon. And this is a work that definitely is worth reading. Samuel Selvon is a Trinidadian author. He moved to Britain in the 19 prior to the 1950s, just about late 1940s, early 1950s, and he published this work in 1956. Now, over the last few sessions, we've been looking at the connection between the Caribbean and the USA. We've been talking about Paul Marshall's work, Praise Song for the Widow. We have also talked about Sylvia Gilfillian's work, The Road to Timnath. And we have looked at the connection with the US. This work offers a wonderful look at what happened in Britain in the 1950s. As a matter of fact, it talks about how Caribbean or West Indian persons migrated to London in particular, but to Britain in general, because they were recruited to be part of the army or they worked in the factories. And so in the post-war era, that is Second World War, what we found is that there would have been a number of West Indian persons who had migrated. These persons were sending stories home about how wonderful life in England was, or they were talking about how much they were earning, or they were saying how friendly the Londoners were, etc. And so these stories of almost a wonderful and perfect life is what was those were the stories that were perpetuated. However, it wasn't the full story. And what we find is that as time passed, the stories were believed because they were accompanied by the various remittances. But as time progressed, certainly by the time we got to the 1960s, we had quite an influx, but then we saw that there was a movement by the Commonwealth. There was a movement in the mid 1950s to close this open door policy in relation to welcoming persons from the West Indies. And so in 1961, a Commonwealth Immigrants Bill to restrict the flow of West Indian immigrants was passed. And what persons realized by this time is that a lot of the stories didn't tell the full picture. Indeed, nobody believed that the streets of London were paved with gold or that the natives were friendly by this time. And I'm reading directly from the introduction. So it offers a wonderful glimpse into the history, but it also goes on to tell a fabulous story. And what for me is wonderful about this work as well is that Samuel Selvon is one of the earlier persons to have put both dialogue and narration in nation language. So we see everything coming together that we've been talking about. So if I could delve into just reading an excerpt for you, I'll jump directly to page 29 of The Lonely Londoners by Samuel Selvon. So here it says, meanwhile, Tolroy gone down by the bottom of the train, stumbling over suitcase and baggage as he trying to see everybody what's coming off the train at the same time. A old woman, that's so hard to read, a old woman who looked like she would dead any minute come out of a carriage carrying a cardboard box and a paper bag. When she get out to the train, she stand up there on the platform as if she confused. Then after she, a young girl come, carrying a flour bag filled with things. Then a young man wearing a wide brim hat and a jacket falling below the knees. Then a little boy and a little girl. Then another old woman, tottering so much a guard had was to help she get out of the train. Oh Jesus Christ, Tolroy say, what is this at all? Tolroy, the first woman say, you don't know your own mother. Tolroy hugged his mother like a man in a daze. Then he say, But what Tanty Bessie doing here, ma? And Agnes and Louis and the two children? All of we come, Talroy, ma say. This is how it happen. When you write home to say you're getting £5 a week, Louis say, oh God, I going England tomorrow? Well, Agnes said that she not staying at home alone with the children, so all of we come. And what about Tanty? Well, you know how old your Tanty getting, Talroy. It's a shame to leave she alone to dead in Kingston, with nobody to look after she. Oh God, ma, why you bring up all these people with you? Talroy start to shiver with a kind of fright, poor thing. Ah, you see what I tell you? Tanty said to the mother. You see how ungrateful he is? I would go back to Jamaica right now. And she make as if she going back inside the train. Talroy, ma say, you remember when you was a little boy, how you used to live at Tanty and she used to mind you and send you to school and give you tea and bake in the evening? You remember them days? When Tanty give you shoes to wear and pants to put on your backside? When Tanty give you shoes to wear? And how you expect me to leave Tanty behind when all the family going to England? But ma, you don't know what you put yourself in. Tolroy started to argue right there on the platform. And people watching them. A porter pushing a trolley say, come on there, out of the way. And he nearly bounced up Tanty, who was looking all about in the station with she eyes open wide. Look at trouble here, Tanty say. Mister, you best had mind what you're doing, yes? If you touch me with that thing, I call a policeman for you. Tolroy pull all the family out of the way, and they stand up there arguing. For Tolroy ain't catch himself yet. He can't realize that all these people on his hands in London in the grim winter and no place to go to stay. This very nicely captures what I was talking about. The people coming into London by the thousands and the hundreds, if you remember that poem by Louise Bennett, Colonization in Reverse, and poor Tolroy, who had sent a flowery picture home, is now left with all of his family members on his hand, who will all too soon realize that the stories were embellished. The Lonely Londoners by Samuel Selvon. Something you ought to get on your bookshelf, pick up in a bookstore near you, and read this one. It's a relatively small book and easy read, so this is something we could get done in a few hours at best. All right, I'm going to leave you here. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. This is English Expressions with Dr. Steph, and we hope that you will join us next time when we look at another wonderful work coming out of the African diaspora in celebration of Black Creative Expressions for Black History Month 2024. Thank you for joining. See you next time.